I recently got the chance to interview Mitchell with Arkpad about updates about what's going on with their project, as well as just upcoming news and stuff he wanted to talk about. And this is that interview.
Welcome to Colonize the Ocean podcast, where we discuss oceanic colonization, exploration, and education with your hosts Adam Jewell and Brendon Traxler.
Hello, everybody. I hope that you're all having a great day, great week, whatever it may be. But yeah, we've got Mitchell with us this morning from Arkpad. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you, Brendon?
I'm doing fine. We're going to do something a little different here. I think that, Mitchell doesn't do too many live streams. So this will be fun and different and interesting. But we're going to do a little questions here. We're going to talk about progress that not only you've been working on, but we'll do a little selfish plug here for ASC as well, where I'm at it. But mostly we're going to talk about Arkpad and what they've been up to, because there's been a lot of stuff going on and it's exciting.
It is.
So yeah. So how you been doing? How's life? How's the Philippines treating you?
The Philippines is treating me very well. It's very pretty. There's beaches everywhere. There's cheap, good food. I like that. I can't complain. I've been here. I came here a little over 2 years ago. Originally, the Arkpad was our only prototype seastead, and as you guys probably know, that's in the water now. We're going to be adding some stabilizers. We're going to be adding the solar panels very soon here, and then it's going to be going up on Airbnb, or actually we might be working something out with the Boracay administration, the tourism department, where we'll host some kind of events on it or something else. It's kind of up in the air what exactly the prototype is going to be used for, but it's already gone through its first small storm, which was kind of a test for it, and it passed with flying colors. So it's
Cool.
very, it's proving to be very, durable, strong, corrosion resistant so far, but it hasn't really been in long enough for us to know. But I don't think it's going to have any issues at all with corrosion. There's zero steel. It's all marine grade aluminum and seasoned cement. So yeah, that's doing pretty well. And we have several other projects that I can talk about today.
Yeah. Now we got images here. We're going to be showing in videos and stuff, and some of the stuff you're just talking about right there, we're going to get into. And as somebody that I've been following you guys for several years now. And we've actually done some past interviews and stuff as you guys have transitioned over the years and stuff like that. So it's cool to see where you come from and where you're at today. And I think that anybody that's been following you can say the same thing. And so yeah, it's good. Let's you want to just get into it then? And
well, you want to show, maybe let's show where the Arkpad is first, because that's a big update, and then I want to talk about the other projects after that. Can we show off some of this is already on social media, but why don't we play it for people?
Oops, let me get back here.
Yeah, so here's a picture of me up on the Arkpad. You can actually see, so when there's not a storm happening in the Philippines, usually the waters are very, very calm. It's actually a very tranquil environment. You don't get these huge waves all the time. There's not a lot of surfing. There actually are areas of the country where you can surf, but in this particular area and in most of the interior islands, the waves are small enough that you don't really need to worry about weather conditions a lot of the time. So you can see behind me here is the Visayan Sea, and then I'm actually standing on the second floor of the Arkpad with the several people down below me that were just putting in furniture and things like that. So yeah, that's what this image is. I can show some videos as well.
Yeah, if you want to go ahead and show those off if you want.
Sure. Let me pull it up. Here's the first video where you can see the Arkpad from shore. Is it going to play?
There we go.
There we go. And it's out there with our boat. This is when I think we had some guys out there inspecting it. They were doing a stability test. I forget exactly what it's called, but it's some kind of a test to see, how much it's going to tilt when you move around different weights of the platform. And generally, what we're finding is it's of course a lot more stable than a boat by comparison, but it's designed to be. So we knew that already.
So how many square foot is that?
It is
4
100
meters.
It's 100 square meters. We didn't meters. So the platform is 100 square meters. The interior of the house is 65 square meters, and then the floor on top of the house is another 65. So in terms of living space, especially once we have the second story built, it'll be like 65 on bottom and 65 on top. So that's roughly, I want to say 65 square meters is like 700 square feet per floor.
Okay.
I think something around that.
Okay. So not too shabby.
Yep. And then I got another video here. Now this is during its launch phase. So when you're launching, it behaves a bit. I'll let it play first. Oh, there we go. That's better. So when you're launching it, it behaves a bit differently. We actually have the floater rings brought down on the spar a little bit. When it's fully launched and in the water, you're going to raise those floater rings up. You can see we've just got some wood pegs holding the floater rings down. So now that it's already launched, those floater rings come up, and the cross bracing that you're seeing connecting to that central spar, that gets pulled tighter, and so that makes it stronger in large waves. So this was like during the phase where we were first launching. This footage was taken almost a month ago already.
And so what kind of, so something like that, it looks like, obviously we're in a boat, so it's rocking a little bit, but when you're on the thing, how much, rock do you have as far as when you're on it?
When you're on it, so rock coming from the waves is, honestly, I couldn't feel it. Like, I can't tell that it's rocking at all when it comes to the waves. When you have people on it, and they walk from side to side, you'll definitely feel it move, but that's going to change after we add these small stabilizers on the sides. They're
interesting.
If you deploy one solo, it needs stabilizers. If you connect two of them together, or three or four of them together, it doesn't need any additional. It just stands on its own. So, because we only have one right now, we want to have these extra kind of buoyant pillars on the side that we call stabilizers. And once those are on, you won't be able to really tell that it's moving at all. Whether everybody rushes to one side or whether there's a big wave, it'll be not undetectable, but really hard to tell that it's moving.
And so is that the goal? Is that you can attach like 4, 6, 8, however many you want together to build a bigger whatever you want to do?
Yeah. Because every seastead that we're designing, of course, we're building it with the idea that they can all snap together, that they can be expanded by connecting. So if you want double the floor space, you build 2 units, you build 3 units, you build 5 units, until you end up with a floating community or a floating village or a small floating city, something like that, right? Because the idea of like building permanent human habitation out in international waters, like that seasteading, you need a lot of people to do that all at once,
right?
Or at least gradually over time. And of course, the same thing is true with the other project that we had, the Hexafarm, which is also in the water. But I'll get more to that later, because we have. It's something we're going to be expanding on with the Hexafarm as well. Maybe we can talk about the main thing I want to talk about here today, which is the cryptocurrency platform.
Yeah, and so that's called Stead, right?
Yes, that's called Stead.
So what exactly is Stead?
Okay, so Stead is firstly, it's a cryptocurrency. It's a token, which is collateralized by real-world assets. So if you imagine real estate, so there, this is getting into the cryptocurrency sphere a little bit, which a lot of seasteaders are familiar with crypto. There's some overlap there. There's a thing called RWA, which is tokenized real estate, where they take a house, they'll buy it, they'll create 100,000 tokens, and then sell those 100,000 tokens. And every person who holds a token owns 1/100,000th of that house. So if you own 100 tokens, you own 1/1,000th, and so on and so forth. So basically, what we're doing with Stead is we created a DeFi platform, a decentralized finance platform, where you can take floating assets like floating houses, fishing boats, fish farms, fish cages, things like that, things that would go in the water, marine assets. You can crowd fund those through the sale of Stead tokens of this cryptocurrency. And then the people that buy the cryptocurrency now gain value from the real world asset, the thing that is floating on the water that's going to make a profit. And of course, the people that are operating that real world asset, which in the white paper we call them the operators, they gain the benefit of crowdfunding an asset that goes into their company. And so then now they have that asset, they have to operate it profitably, they have to buy back and burn Stead tokens that were initially created to fund that sale. So it's kind of like a crypto-based crowdfunding platform, if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think my question on all that is, you hear a cryptocurrency, and for a lot of people, it's still very new and they don't understand it and stuff along those lines. So I think this definitely, the people in that space get it and they're all about it. But for those that don't, it's like, this is just another one of the billion cryptocurrencies out there. So where does that value come from for those people as well? As like, what can they use that cryptocurrency for, or, if that makes sense?
Right, yeah, that's a good question. Okay, so let me explain what a cryptocurrency is first. A cryptocurrency is basically, it's an entry on a ledger. It's like a public ledger. So if you have a guy who owes a debt to another guy, let's say it's $100, and then he writes it on a ledger and puts out in public, like, Jimmy owes John $100. Everyone can see it. So Jimmy can't go in and erase the $100 debt. He can't change it, or else everyone will be aware that he's changed it. So that's called, the way that this is implemented with cryptocurrency is called blockchain. It's basically like a recording of how much money is in every person's wallet. It's usually called a wallet. So they take the balance that everyone has in their wallet, they create a ledger, or like a big data file that says, like, this guy transacted 10 coins to this guy, and this guy sent 20 coins to that guy, and so on and so forth. And then they send that information out to everyone in the world, or every person who has a copy of the blockchain on their computer. They update their ledger to reflect that new transaction. So the way that this benefits people in the case of something like Bitcoin is, you can track how much Bitcoin each person has, and so you can say that like, if I say I have 100 Bitcoin and I want to show that to people, I can prove it. So if I say that I own the seastead, or that I own 100 shares of this seastead, then I can also prove that. So basically, it's taking the technology of, like, shares and stocks and things like that, and making it so that anyone in the world can access that without needing to go through a third party. So, for example, if we're in the Philippines, you can't really sell stock in a marine company. That's not. It's technically allowed, but there's so much regulation involved that you wouldn't really be able to do it. And I think in a lot of countries, you wouldn't really legally be able to sell stock in certainly, like, experimental technologies or emerging technologies like seasteads without jumping through a bunch of different hoops. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Now, I think that maybe part of the thing is so you almost need to look at it more of like a stock instead of actually like a dollar or something along those lines. And I think the term currency sometimes makes people think it's something it's not.
Yeah. Well, that's actually a really good point, and this is something I've talked about with people in the past, in the last few months. The way that I see it is, there are cryptocurrencies that are designed to be currencies. They're designed to be things that people trade, and the value is completely subjective.
Mm-hmm.
And then, especially with the advent of smart contracts, this is a thing primarily that came about because of Ethereum. Ethereum created smart contracts. Smart contracts created the ability for basically every person to make their own crypto. And so this is why there are so many cryptos these days, is because it's actually very easy to make them. A lot of cryptos really are just stocks. Like, they get treated like shares in a company, because it's like one small group of people will say, this is our business model, this is what we're gonna do, this is how it makes money, and then they will sell tokens specifically to help people get in on that business model. That's really, it's a lot like a stock. Now, that's not what we're doing, actually. What we're doing is different, because what we're doing is, ours function more like tickets. So when you have a stead token and it gets minted, or it gets created out of nothing, the people that are raising that money in that crowd fund, let's say that they use it to buy an Arkpad and they want to put it in some popular tourist area and then rent it out on Airbnb, they themselves don't legally own that seastead. They don't own it until they've done a lease to own program on it. So they're leasing it. The way they're leasing it is they have to buy back and use up those stead tokens. So the stead tokens technically are more like tickets. So it's kind of like, I hold 100 tickets to use the Arkpad for 100 days, and then because I hold this company that's actually using the Arkpad, that's renting it on Airbnb, it's more like they're subleasing it at that point, because they have to buy the tickets from me and then use those tickets to continue their lease on that structure. And so it'd be the same if you raised funds on a fishing boat or a fish farm or like an underwater thing in the case of Atlantis Sea Colony, whatever the thing would be. The idea is you're going to crowdfund through the platform, and then you're going to rent to own the thing that you funded. You don't own it until you've burned all of those, until you've used up all of those tickets on the lease. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense to me. But I think you explained it very well. I think that's a very clear, concise explanation there. I think it should answer most people's questions about it. If not, they can always comment, and you can always hop back in, and comment on that. But yeah, that's pretty clear. Moving on, I think you've already addressed a lot of it, but how exactly does it work?
I think I have addressed that.
Yeah, pretty much.
So let me make it even more concise. I'm going to do a step by step. Let's imagine that we want to build a fishing boat. So you got a random fisherman in the Philippines. He wants to build a fishing boat. I can break this down really simple. He's going to go to us. He's going to say, my fishing boat costs $100,000. I need money to buy that. I can't afford it right now. He's going to apply to raise funds on our platform. We're either going to approve or deny. We're going to say, like, no, we don't trust you, or yeah, you seem like a good fisherman. You caught a lot of fish last month, so we're going to let you fundraise here. If we approve him, we're going to take the boat, the construction plans for the boat, pictures of a similar boat so people know what it's going to look like, a contract that he signs that says, once I have this boat, I don't own it, but I'm going to use it to make a profit by, fishing on these days and this month, and then, pay this month, pay X amount in rent, basically. So now that it's on the platform, on the marketplace, people can go in, they can mint tokens, they can buy stead tokens, which kind of creates a new supply of stead tokens. The money they pay to do that goes to the fisherman. The fisherman withdraws the money and buys the boat, and then the boat sets sail. The boat, he's not owning it, he's now renting it from us, from the stead platform that Arkpad is kind of in control of. And so he is going to pay rent on that boat by buying back that stead cryptocurrency and then burning it or destroying it in the process. So basically, everyone that contributed the $100,000 to fund that tuna fishing boat or whatever kind of boat he wants, he's going to end up buying back $120 or $150 or $200,000 over X number of years. So in that sense, it's kind of like a mortgage. It's kind of like a decentralized mortgage. Like, here's the price of the house, and then after X number of years, when you pay it off, it's going to cost X amount extra. And so that's kind of all figured out and made public right at the point when the sale goes live. So I think that's a pretty good step-by-step. And so you can imagine this for any asset, right? This can be a floating house, a fishing boat, something underwater, something on the beach, because there are actually other crypto platforms that have done a similar thing where they're just doing it with standard real estate, with just, actually, I talked with one company. They were doing it with high-end luxury real estate in major European cities like London, Paris, Berlin. And I talked to the guys that were doing this, and I said, how much are you guys renting this property out for? And they said, oh, we're not renting it out. We're just allowing people to invest in high-end real estate, but we're not actually going to rent it out. It's going to sit empty. And I'm over here. I'm thinking, like, why is it going to sit empty when, wouldn't it make more sense to just buy rental properties? Because you're going to get a better return on investment from a rental property than buying like $100 million mansion that you can't ever resell. Like, what's the point of buying the $100 million mansion? And at the end of the day, it's just hype. It's just status. Like, hey, I own a small part of this $100 million mansion. But I don't actually think that's the most efficient use of funds. You know what I mean? Like, some crypto projects, they focus a lot on hype and, like, look at this $100 million mansion that we bought, but it's not always the most solid business plan. Is just my perspective. I don't know if you noticed that about crypto projects as well.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think because it is so new, there is still so much being developed around it, and it's still getting figured out at some aspects too. So it's something interesting to watch, and those that can capitalize on it while it's still in its earlier stages, I think are going to do very well.
Yeah, I think so. And that's one of the things that sets apart what we're doing from what these other projects are doing. Because what we're doing is we're saying, in order to fundraise, you have to have a business plan. You have to have a real world asset, so real world collateral, right? We're not just creating a cryptocurrency and saying this has a value of $100 million because we said so. We're creating it and saying it's it's backed up by the value of this boat, by the value of this floating house, by the value of these things, and more importantly, those things have to be actively generating profit all the time. Like if we're going to fund a fishing boat for you, you have to go fishing, you have to actually raise the money, and every month you have to make a payment to prove that you're being profitable. And if you're not, we're going to take that asset back, we're going to give that boat to somebody else, and then they're going to operate it instead. So this is, we're putting in a lot more work to act as a safe haven for people's wealth compared to what honestly the majority of crypto projects are doing. This is all about, like, do you have real value, do you have real profits, and do you have some physical brick and mortar, or I guess in this case wood and fiberglass, but do you have something that actually brings value to the table?
Right.
Yeah. So that's the main thing. There's actually a second thing. There's one other thing here as well. We implemented a mechanism into the stead cryptocurrency called the base price. So what that means is when you go to buy a new stead token or mint a new stead token, we call it minting because when people are participating in these fundraisers, it's creating new amounts of this cryptocurrency. It's generating, like, it's minting new coins basically, right? So the way that it works is over time, the basic cost, the base price or the base cost to create a new token goes up, which means that 6 months from now, it goes up by about 0.9% every 30 days. So 6 months from now, it's going to be about 6% more expensive to create a new token compared to what it was 6 months prior. So the longer you wait to buy these tokens, the higher the price is going to go up. And that also means the longer you hold on to them in the long term, the higher the price is going to go up, because nobody can create new tokens for the same price. They have to pay more money than you did. So that's another thing to kind of incentivize people to buy early on.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think you've already kind of addressed the next question as well with that one there, as far as giving a real world example, which you just really laid that out. But I didn't know if you wanted to go into that anymore as well, or you feel like you've pretty much exhausted on that one there too.
No, I want to address the first project that we're going to actively fund with the platform, because I don't think I mentioned this yet, but the big launch of the stead tokens, we had a small launch that was back in February. As of today, actually, I think it might be about to happen here the next few minutes as we're talking, we're going to be launching the stead cryptocurrency on CoinStore. CoinStore is one of the biggest cryptocurrency apps that you can have on your phone in Asia. It's really popular in like Indonesia, India, Vietnam, Philippines. A lot of people, especially in Asia, also South Korea, they use this app to buy crypto, kind of like how people use Binance in America to buy crypto. So we're going to be listing on there. We're going to have something called an initial exchange offering, and we're going to basically, you can buy at a 10% discount for only the next 3 days. And so that's, again, another reason that I wanted to come on here and talk about that. But what we're going to use those initial funds for that we raised during the sale is going to go to the Reef Resort. And we've made a few posts about the Reef Resort, but I don't think there's a few things that I haven't shown off about it yet. So can I talk about the resort we're building first?
Yeah. Let me get this out of the way here. Let's see.
Yeah, here we go. So this is the hexaform that's already in the water, and you can see, actually you kind of can't see it because the screen's a little bit small, or the image is a bit small. But if you zoom in, you can see, like, we had a double rainbow that appeared that day when we were out there. So I really wanted to get, yeah, there it is. I wanted to get an image of that. We put this on social media. I don't think anyone noticed the double rainbow in the mountains, but it's very, we have a really pretty location. We have a really pretty spot. And this is actually the old spot. So the new spot is even nicer. The new spot is still by the mountains, just like this. We've got a coral reef that we're next to that's very secluded. There's not many other people that are nearby to it. So we're going to have kind of like a private coral reef scuba diving area. We're actually a little ways south of the giant clam sanctuary. I don't know if we're allowed to do scuba diving there, but I will definitely ask the government. And we're nearby to a bunch of other stuff. Can you pull up the map? I can show this on the map here.
The map? Yeah, let's see where it's at here. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, yeah.
Is
So Davos City. So this is the major city in the south of the country. It's called Davos City. That's where the international airport is. The big, long island is called Samal Island, and then the smaller island there is called Telakud. And if you go to the next image, it'll kind of zoom in. So there, where it says Kaputian Beach Park, that's nearby to the area that we were granted by the government recently. Zoom in a little bit more. And that red X right there is where we're going to be building the floating resort. So that's the reef resort. That's the exact location where that's going to go. Now, I don't think I've ever shown this map on social media before, have I?
I've never seen it before.
Good. So this is the first time for everybody. So we can officially unveil. This is
There you
the
go,
spot
yeah.
right here. Yeah, yeah.
So
And
how far offshore is that?
this is about 200 to 300 meters.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's less than half a kilometer. It's really not that far. Maybe it looks kind of far because of where the map is. But what I really like about it the most, honestly, is that kind of shallow area right next to you. You can't really see it because we're still zoomed out too far. But next to the red X, a little bit to the right, that's just a really long coral reef area. And straight up to the north, where you see the much lighter blue water, that's all corals, and there's like a bunch of coral reefs up there, and there's the giant clam sanctuary. If you go to the next image,
I was going to say, yeah, that's what I was saying. I think it's on this next image here.
Yeah. So this is all coral reefs through here. There's a lot of coral reefs through here. So this is one of the best places in the country for scuba diving, and this is we're going to be like less than a kilometer away from this, so we can just take a boat out there and yeah.
Yeah, I guess the only question would be protection against all that kind of stuff. How are they protecting it that much where you don't have that much access to it or not? And
yeah, so the one that's a giant clam sanctuary, I don't know the exact status if scuba diving is allowed, but if you go out a little ways, you see all those smaller reefs kind of like dotted around the area by the Wishing Island. Those you can just access. Those anybody can dive on. So there's a bunch of coral reefs that you can just freely go out there and scuba dive.
Nice. Yeah, that's exciting. That's really good. I mean, that right there, I think, obviously the waking up and, on the ocean is an appeal to itself, but you have those extra amenities per se, which brings more marine life too by having that coral reef. So there's going to be that as well. But also, you're able to go snorkeling or diving off of your floating house. How great is that?
Yeah, it's really good. Actually, when we were out here on a boat, we took a speedboat out here. We were like looking for a good area to request from the government and be like, we were about to have a meeting with the mayor. And when we were out there, the exact spot, very near to that spot that they ended up assigning us to it, we saw a big pod of dolphins.
Wow.
I don't know if it was huge. It was like 12 or 15 dolphins. They were jumping out, they were doing backflips and all kinds of stuff. I really hope they're still going to be there when we start building.
Sure.
Like we can just feed them fish. We can encourage them to stick around and have a little pet dolphin sanctuary going on. And I think that's considered a good luck charm in the Philippines as well.
Okay.
Dolphins.
I know you had a video on the for the hexafarms. Did you want to show that?
Oh yeah. First, can I show, and maybe should I show the solar panels? We just started installing solar panels. I want to show that.
Let's go ahead and.
Yeah, because that's relevant.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, there are other floating houses that are in this area right now, but I've said before on social media, I think that they're made of bamboo, so they don't have air conditioning, they don't have electricity, they don't have a septic tank or anything like that. We've got all of those things, and yeah, primarily we want our electricity to come from solar because we're very much off grid. So in the last picture you saw, they had the power wall and the batteries set up and everything's, this is all the controls for the solar system. And then in the next picture, you can see they're running the wire across. So that wire is not going to be there when we build the floating resort. It's going to be in a different location, so it's not so obvious. But we've already got power in both of those buildings now. And I think that construction, and there's the panels. And then construction is going to start right after this big sale that we have going on right now for the crypto. Once the sale is done, we'll start construction on another between 5 and 10 more units.
Very cool.
So yeah, and last thing I got, you want me to show that video now?
Yeah, if you want to, yeah, go for it.
All right, let me pull it up. This is not really important at all to the construction plans I've been talking about. I just want to show this off because it's fun. It won't let me do it unless I remove this. Okay, now it's gonna let me do it. I just wanted to show this off because the fish are kind of fun in this environment. These are rabbit fish. They're very, very friendly. They come right up to you. So that's it. It's like
Nice.
a fish spa. You can just put your
Yeah.
feet, put their hand. And if you hold some seaweed in your hand and you put it down, they'll
Oh,
really crowd around you.
very cool. Yeah, that's cool. I'm sure that might freak out some people, but
Maybe.
yeah. But I guess we're talking about you want to take some more about, since that's what we're seeing really is the hexafarm here, and to people who don't understand really what that is, do you want to go into that a little bit?
Sure, yeah. So the Hexafarm, if you guys remember on social media over the last 2 years, we've put out that it started off as a polyculture structure. So it started off as a structure that was going to be able to grow fish, and then outside of that, shrimp in separate cages, and then lobster in another separate chamber, and then seaweed. So the goal was fish, shrimp, lobster, seaweed. Um, and it kind of morphed into something that we can use to further advance seasteading more directly or living on the water more directly. Because what we realized is that there were already, and these tents we've modified these white glamp houses you're seeing behind me. Most of this stuff is commercially available. It's really off the shelf stuff. It's been customized for a sort of marine environment, but it was very easy for us to take these hexagon shaped fish farms, to take 6 of these glamp houses. These are glamping tents, really, with just extra insulation added for air conditioning, and snap those into place. And so we could easily create a walkable, traversable, floating village type thing that you see behind me here in the concept art. And that's exactly what we did. So we did that with a hexafarm that we put in the water. It still has the fish growing in it. It's got milkfish and rabbit fish that are both herbivores, so they get along very well. The ones you saw swarming my wife's hand were rabbit fish. We do have lobster in there, and we're adding the shrimp next week. So what we've got now is we basically got under the water, we have a farm that grows different types of seaweed, and above the water, we have a resort. And so this is why we're kind of marketing it as an eco resort. And this is one of the reasons that the local government really jumped at the opportunity
Sure.
to welcome it in. We actually had the guy who was the director of the mariculture park go in and practically give a speech to the rest of the local government about like why we need to bring this into the mariculture park. And so, and we've got another group in the Bureau of Fisheries. They want to buy 2 more of these for the north of the island. And we're still talking about that with them, and government moves really slowly, so that's not going to happen anytime soon. But regardless, it's been popular. Just the aquaculture structure itself that grows all the different types of seafoods, that's been popular. When we turn it into a resort, we bring it in for tourism. How much more popular is that going to be? I think a lot, because all the people we've talked to so far have been very interested in staying, even though we haven't finished setting up the electricity yet. So we sold them no,
Yeah.
but we have a lot of people wanting to stay even without electricity.
So I guess where do you see? I mean, obviously, we're American based here. I think a lot of people may be watching more be that, but where are you seeing a lot of your interest coming for? Is it coming from Asia, or is it coming from? Do you have a place where you're seeing more interest than other?
So right now, because we're kind of laser focused on creating this platform that will allow people to crowdfund, marine infrastructure, including seasteads. We're trying to focus on where do we set up our keystone project, our reef resort, our first step towards making seasteading more popular and successful. And so we're looking at Samal Island and also to a lesser degree Boracay and saying we want to see a successful implementation here, and that's going to make it more popular everywhere else. So if we
Gotcha.
show a lot of success, right? So we want success over here in the Philippines, then we can turn around and go to America and say, hey, look, there's this really successful thing that we proved in Asia. We proved the market. We proved that not only is seasteading safe, seasteading is technologically possible. You can keep a population out here for an extended period of time. I mean, I'll be living out there. I guess that the tourists would be just coming and going briefly, but
Yeah.
you could stay. You could get a 6-month rental if you wanted. So the idea is, let's prove seasteading technology. Let's prove that right here in Asia, and then once we have the proof that it's safe and affordable and profitable for investors, we can bring it anywhere after that.
Yeah. And I think that the nice thing, obviously, and you can attest to this, is building it, outside the United States. Something like that is, first off, it's going to be cheaper at first, which is usually the worst part. Is that upfront capital to be able to build and design anything is that upfront capital, where it's more cost effective to do it outside the United States, and regulations as well too. I mean, you got all these different things that obviously there's a reason for those regulations and those prices and stuff. But if your capital and your upfront, if you can build those outside the United States, and get that R&D done at a lower cost, that's definitely puts you ahead of the game per se.
Yes, it does. And with something like the Hexafarm, even with all the housing attached to it, it's not even that big of a concern in terms of cost, because you'd be surprised at how cost effective this floating housing is. It's really, nothing compared to coastal real estate. It's a lot cheaper. But in the Philippines, if you can prove that what you're doing is like eco-friendly, like you're producing seafood, you're growing coral reefs, or you're doing something that benefits the marine environment, especially because it's an island country, then it makes the regulations are basically all in your favor. The regulations are like, yes, develop new technologies, do something green, put up solar panels, great. If you do all of that stuff, they're very, very friendly towards it. In America, I feel like we could still build it pretty cheaply, but we'd have to jump through so many hoops to get the government to agree. And then you go to an island country like this, and it's like, oh, this new tech, this is great. We welcome new tech. We want to see more of this.
Yeah. I think that's why you see there's other, companies out there, organizations out there working on different seasteads, and most of them are not in the United States. And I think that's a big reason for that too.
So the U.S. is really overregulated, honestly.
Yeah. But that's a whole different interview right there, talking about that one there. But yes, I agree. So I guess why would you choose crowdfunding as a way to advance seasteading?
Sure, good point. So the platform we're building, the crypto platform, the whole thing is all about crowdfunding, right? It's about, let's get everyone together to support this new prototype. We're going to make it profitable. We're going to prove the technology, what have you. The main benefits of crowdfunding are you're dispersing risk to the largest number of people. So it's not one guy that has to throw his life savings into it. We're spreading out that risk, but we're also allowing everyone to get in on the ground floor to see a new technology take off and benefit from that. So, like what people are trying to do with all these, if you go on Reddit, if you go on Facebook, there are so many other seasteading technologies that have not yet been implemented at really any kind of scale, even a small scale. And if they were implemented, they might work, and they might even be profitable if used, especially in tourism, right? Because seasteading itself is fundamentally good at tourism. Building floating anything brings in tourists. And so I think that's something some seasteaders have even missed out on that. They've been thinking like, we need to build a seastead so we can make a microchip factory, so we can make do this with it or that with it. Build a seastead just to have a seastead. Like, if you advertise the fact you have a seastead, you're going to bring in tourists because people find that stuff really interesting. Seasteads are pretty, are unique, they're popular, and we're seeing that already over here with so many people wanting to come out here. But we're not done with the setting up the electric. Right. We will be. So, anyways, I think. Sorry, I'm going off on a tangent. I apologize.
You're good.
Yeah. My main point is, if you want to build a prototype and you want the prototype to pay itself back to you, you should probably focus on tourism, in my opinion, because all you need is a functional seastead, and it will make money just by being a functional seastead, because that's good for tourism. So anyways, going back to crowdfunding spreads out the risk. Crowdfunding allows lots of different people that are interested in seasteads but don't have the capital to build one, to get in and help something take off and be kind of a part of that project. And I know that, before I was with Arkpad, when I was just looking at seasteading from the outside looking in and not really part of a company, I was thinking, man, I really want to build one of these, but like, how am I ever going to be able to do that? So this way you'd be able to contribute directly. And so, I think that's the main point, right? Crowdfunding is good for prototyping things. And so that's why we want a crowdfunding platform.
Yeah. I think that the nice thing is, having been around for the internet for most of the maturity of the internet, crowdfunding's been around forever, but now with the reach of social media and stuff like that, it's so much easier to get people onto that crowdfunding platform and to notify you. In the past, it was so hard unless you were just adamant about that thing. You didn't know how to crowdfund it. You didn't know anything about it. But now with social media and with doing live streams like this, and there'll be a VOD afterwards, it's going to reach thousands. You know, if it goes viral, millions of people, and that can point them towards, hey, let me crowdfund this thing. And I mean, it really only takes, you know, with ASC, you know, it's like, well, the when we're looking at architecture and engineering and stuff like that, $100,000, we only need 1,000 people to pay $100 each. It's not that much money. And same thing with this, you could do, you know, if you're reaching 100,000 people, $1 a piece, and you know, it's done type of thing. So it's like we say, it's for the cost of a coffee, you can invest into the future type of thing. And so I think that it gives people some skin in the game per se by putting some money behind it. They're more interested when money is put behind something that they're passionate about.
Yeah, and people get a lot more interested in theoretical technologies when they see them in real life, like operate even at a small scale. Like, it's all about getting a prototype. Once you have a prototype, things become a lot easier after that.
100%. Yeah.
So we want to use this platform to help other people get their prototypes as well. Sorry, go ahead, Brendon.
No. I say because anybody now, especially with AI and stuff like that, can have a pretty image to show off and say, like, here's what I want to do. And there's a dime a dozen of those until you actually get something in the water, or in our case, under the water. They're not gonna. I mean, it's all talk, and so that's always the struggle. And so it's awesome to see companies like yourself that have actually gone and have something out there in the water, because now you know what your money's going towards, and you know that they're not just talking fluff. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's also what we want with this platform. Is we want, when crowdfunding is going to occur, we want blueprints. We want a contract that someone's going to sign. That a business model included with that contract that says, once I build it, I'm going to use it to do this thing, and this thing is going to make money by, you know, doing XYZ, probably tourism in most cases. You know, we want to hold people to account when they spend crowdfunded money as well, because there have also been historical examples of people raising money in crowdfunds. They just walk away and don't use it for what they said they were going to use it for, because there's no contract, or they never had a clear business model, and you want to avoid those things as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the thing that you know, a lot of people are going to be interested in the crypto aspect of the thing, but a lot of other people are interested in where you're going to go expand after this.
Sure. So once we are done building Reef Resort, which is going to be an ongoing project for many years, we're going to keep slowly, steadily expanding it for years and years. That's the plan. We'll probably look next at Boracay, which is where we have the Arkpad. Because keep in mind, the Hexa farm is at Samal Island. The Arkpad is Boracay Island. They're two different islands.
And how far apart are those?
Well, they're in different provinces, so
Okay.
they're different political jurisdictions,
Gotcha.
Basically. Now, the thing is, in Samal Island, the government loves what we're doing. In Boracay Island, they still like what we're doing, but they're not like actively pulling back, you know, regulations, like giving speeches in favor of us. So I really I love what's happening with the Reef Resort, because the government's so enthusiastic about helping us to get it built, which is awesome. So anyways, again, going off on a tangent here. So where are we going after this? We'll focus on the floating resort in Samal Island and more Arkpads in Boracay Island. Then, actually, I wrote it down here. What are the next steps I want to do? So after that, we are going to work on a few other technologies that we've only talked about a little bit in our social media. One of those is the lithium extractor. Now, I know that we only made, I think, one post about this on our social media so far. We're developing a machine that I'm doing this with my hands, but in reality, the machine is going to be very, very big. It's basically a machine, like an engine of some kind, where you put it in the ocean and it generates battery-grade lithium. And so if you look at electric vehicles right now, like what Tesla is doing, what some of these new Chinese companies are doing, building their own EVs, electric vehicles, the amount of lithium that we're going to need for the electric vehicles that are continuing to grow and starting to become a huge part of the international market for vehicles, for cars, we don't have enough lithium currently. Like the reserves are not there. The active lithium mines are not there yet. 99% of the world's lithium is in the ocean. And we're one of the only companies, I think, in the world right now where we set up a chemistry department just to research this one technology on how to extract lithium directly from the ocean and extract it in a form which is pure enough to put it directly into batteries with no processing whatsoever. Just use it in the battery manufacturing process. And right now we have a prototype for that technology. That prototype is working in laboratory settings. Once we think it can work at a larger scale, that'll be one of the other projects that we will fund with our STED crypto crowdfunding platform.
And really, I mean, because of the advent of electric cars, electrification of a lot more than just cars, boats, planes, etc., coming down the road, that could honestly be, I mean, your bigger moneymaker there, and just all the rest is fun.
Well, the way I see it is, if it goes down like that, then that technology can be the backbone of like a whole floating village or even a whole floating city in international waters. And now you've got the economic base to get all those people out there in the first place. So that's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's smart. To try to backbone it around some kind of a business, because that's going to also helps offset some of those costs, as far as, because people can be finicky as far as when they're there and stuff along those lines. But if you've got a steady revenue stream coming from a business venture, it definitely helps. Yeah.
And certainly lithium in the next 20 years is going to be quite a business venture, quite a very beneficial one if the market goes the way a lot of people are saying it'll go.
Right. Did we want to show off the last image you got, or do you want to move on to our last question first?
What is the last image? Oh, is it the concept art for the Reef Resort? Yeah. Okay, but let me preface this. This is a work in progress. This is not complete yet. I hesitate to show this in public, but let's go ahead. It's not done.
There we go.
All right, so here we go. So let me explain what we're seeing here. Now you already saw the images behind me, right? Where you got 6 units and then like a little solar platform. What we've done here is we've scaled up the hexafarms. So this is like an alternative design for the hexafarms. So instead of 6 units max in the 6 cells, you could have 12 units. You can have 2 houses in each of the units, and then we took the platform, the solar panel platform, we quadrupled that in size. We made that 4 times bigger. And what we found is that if we have that much space for solar panels, we basically have eliminated the need for, because we have so much extra battery capacity for it as well, we would eliminate the need for a backup generator. Now, we'd still probably have a backup generator, of course, just in case, but I don't think if you had this much solar panel space in the resort, you would not have any need for a backup generator. So that's kind of what we're going for here. This is a scaled up version. You can see in the background there's like a little floating water park. If you've seen those big inflatable water parks in lakes before, that's again something that none of this is a promise, none of this is a guarantee, but this is, I just want to show the image of this is what we can achieve, this is what we can build within the next year or so if things go our direction.
And what I think is interesting about this is just a hexafarm. This is even taking into the whole Arkpad structures that we showed earlier on. They're not even included into this. This is just hexafarm itself. So
yeah, this is just the hexafarm. We got a couple boats, we got a couple jet skis, we put some dolphins under the water, and then those little round things. Now that actually is being designed, and so we are working on the prototype of those round aquariums you're seeing there. What we have here is basically a big saltwater aquarium, a saltwater tank that we're going to put between the first 2 hexafarms, and either made out of acrylic glass or some other type of transparent material. There's a few different materials we could use here, but the idea is to create a big tank, have the bottom be mesh or like a netting, so that we can allow regular saltwater fish. We don't need to do any cleaning of the tank. We don't need to do any high level maintenance, because we basically leave the bottom open to the actual saltwater environment, and we can take tropical fish that are just around the coral reefs, around these areas, and we're allowed to put them into these tanks as long as we're not harming them. And so you've kind of created like this section of the ocean. It's like you've lifted it up with this aquarium, brought it above the surface of the water, put benches around it, and now you can see into like a slice of ocean right in front of you. Yeah, I don't know if you can even zoom in on that so you can see it better.
I don't know if I can or not.
Maybe you can.
Yeah, no. But it's crazy because I just saw a video the other day of somebody doing that in a lake where they had some cylinders, and they were they put them above the water and put the water up
Yeah.
so the fish will swim up in them and stuff along those lines. So
Yeah.
it's really cool.
Yeah, so we're planning on that. Again, none of this is a promise. I just want to preface that, but we're definitely planning on doing something exactly like that, but at a larger scale for the reef resort.
Yeah, very cool. And our last question we've got for today, although we have had a couple questions come in from the people watching live, I think we'll get to here at the end as well. But is how can people buy Stead early?
That is a good question. Since the sale is happening today, and I checked, it should be in 1 hour from now. Since the sale is going to be happening today, it will go on for 3 days. It's called an initial exchange offering. So what's going to happen is there's a limited supply of Stead tokens that can be purchased within the next 3 days. People can buy them at a 10% discount. At the end of those 3 days, then the token is officially listed on Stead, so you can buy an unlimited supply. It just goes up on the market, so anybody can buy it, but the 10% discount is gone, and then you have to buy it for the normal price.
Sure.
So if you want to get in early, if you want to buy it now, both because of the discount and because of the fact that, as I mentioned before, with Stead, the design of the crypto is that every time, as time goes on, when new tokens are minted, the cost to mint new tokens goes up and up and up, and that's built into the cryptocurrency itself. You can't negate that. It forces the price up over time. So definitely the best time to buy is right now. The place to buy it is CoinStore, which is the company, the crypto exchange that we're listing with, and if I can provide a link to people, they could download the app right to their phone, even if you're not in Asia, and you could buy it today.
Yeah.
So let me do that. I apologize. I wanted to have this here.
Yeah, you're good.
Oh, you know what? It's just coinstore.com, actually. People can
that's-
type it in, and the app is right there.
I'll just throw that in there.
Yeah. You want to go to it? Could you screen share maybe? Just go to the website.
Let me get this up here.
And I'm willing to bet if you look down at that little scrolling bar at the bottom, it'll probably mention our listing here. I was going to say, if you look at that little scrolling bar at the bottom, I actually just saw it go by. There's a link to Stead. Yeah, do you see Stead there?
Right here?
Yeah, it's right there. Yep, it will be active in 1 hour. Oh, cool. That's the holding cam. There's a few different programs they're running with it leading up to the launch, but the launch is today, and then on Friday is the kind of like the regular price launch. This is like the discount launch.
Gotcha. Okay.
So yeah, anybody can make an account, anybody can sign up and buy, and that's why I wanted to show up here today and just talk about this early ground floor opportunity.
Well, very cool. Questions out here from the people out in the chat.
Sure, go ahead. Now I'm only seeing 2 questions in here. Do you want me to read these off, Brendon? I'm not sure if you heard me.
Yeah, there's just those 2 out there.
Okay, you want me to answer these right now? Because I only see the 2.
Yeah, if you want. I mean, if you want to.
Okay, sure. So, Tamia.
Yep.
Here we go. Here's Tamia. Okay, actually, they're both from Tamia. So, Tamia said, can we still buy the Arkpad crypto coin? So, I think at one time we were considering giving it a different name, but Stead that I'm talking about here is the Arkpad crypto coin. Like I mentioned before, the big launch day on the CoinStore exchange is today. So, if you want to buy this crypto coin, you should download their app. You should go on, it's CoinStore or coinstore.com. You should go on there and buy it today because it is currently available. It's either currently available or it's available in 1 hour. I need to check here. But by the time you see this, well, you're seeing it live. So, but you can download the app right now. You can buy it right now and you'll get it at the best price. And then of course, as we start rolling out and expanding the Reef Resort, that's going to boost the price of the crypto as well. There we go, coinstore.com. There's the links for you.
And then the other question was, basically wasn't a question, it's just a statement about the lithium roof point from the water.
Yeah, so this is an interesting point because this is going off on a tangent away from crypto. This is going more towards chemistry. And actually some of the most fun meetings that I've had in this company, I know meetings are the most fun thing you can have, right? But no, some of the most cool stuff that we're working on right now is probably with the chemistry department. And I've not said a lot about it in public because it takes a lot of testing and a lot of peer review, but we're not evaporating seawater to get the lithium. We're doing something completely different. It's actually like an electromechanical mechanism that isolates lithium ions and will target those ions to extract them from salt water directly without needing to put in all the energy to boil the water or to evaporate it. It just targets those specific ions and plucks it out of the water, and it goes straight into the machine. It's a really, really cool, complicated, advanced technology. And I will say it's advanced because it is very advanced. It's very cutting edge, but it's not what you think it is. It's a completely different thing that is orders of magnitude more efficient. And again, there's nothing like it that currently exists because it's a brand new technology.
Very cool. So, I guess, do you have any closing remarks or anything you wanted to cover that maybe we haven't talked about today that you think people might be interested in and maybe want to know more about?
The day. Let me check my notes here. Was there anything I skipped over?
I don't think so. I think you covered pretty much everything that I had.
Yeah, I think I've covered everything. The main takeaway from all this is I just want to let people know. That's why I'm going out here today. I want to let people know that we're launching our crypto. It's going to be specifically to benefit seasteads and the seasteading movement. If you want to be a part of that, if you want to help us push forward and improve profitability in the process, please, I'm asking you guys, of course, it's your choice, but if you want to, download CoinStore, make an account on CoinStore, buy the token, and be part of the stuff that we're building.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, with that, I think we'll wrap her up for today. Let's say if there's questions, definitely drop them in comments and stuff like that. And Mitchell, you can get back with them, and we will go from there. But hey, thank you again for doing this. I think this was very informational. I think this is exciting again to do these every once in a while, just to keep people, for one thing, to keep people up to date, but also just to give you that outlet to glow about your project and your baby here and what's going on there too. So.
And I've got so many. I do miss these. I want to do more of these live streams again in the future with a bunch of different people.
Yeah, they're fun, especially when the internet's working.
Yeah.
But anyway, all right. So hey, thank you everybody. Thank you, Mitchell.
Thank you, Brendon.
We'll go from there. All right. Take care, everybody.
Well, have a good day. Everybody take care.